In Kafka's trial, we see a strange description of struggle. Here is a man who has been condemned by a mysterious court, and we do not know what kind of crime Joseph K. has ever committed, right? In the first chapter of the novel, it is declared that Joseph K. has been arrested and no one tells him why. And interestingly, Joseph K. has no desire to find out the nature of crime that he has committed. Although Joseph K. struggles really hard to liberate himself from the clutches of this punishing and condemning and judging mysterious invisible court, at the same time we feel that Joseph K. himself has a very deeper faith in his own guilt. And there is a wonderful line which goes something like, court attracts guilt. So maybe Joseph K. was so sure of his own unconscious guilt, and for that reason court has discovered him. Just like blood, attracts vampires. Similarly, maybe here guilt, or the notion of guilt that Joseph K. has been experiencing right from the day he was born, might have attract court's attention. Maybe for that reason court is all set to punish him. What do you think of that, sir?
Okay, you have talked about guilt and punishment. Now, guilt is an internal thing. Punishment can be internal, as in the judgment, where when the father says, something like, I punish you, I give you death by drowning, something like that, the character himself goes and commits suicide. But punishment is often from a system, from institution. So guilt is individual. Punishment is what the institution gives us. It's what the institution decides us. Now, institutions can mean two things. First of all, there is a place where the institution is housed. The court premises in the trial, a hospital, a school building, an asylum, the prison, these are institutions. On the other hand, institution can mean the system behind certain things. For example, family is an institution, law is an institution. Okay? So, it is this institution which gives punishment. But can we understand this institution which gives us punishment, as we have seen in Knock at the Manor Gate? Yeah? I mean, is it because we are guilty that the institution is giving us punishment? Or do we become guilty because the institution says you are guilty? There is one wonderful example that is generally given when we talk about speech acts. A batsman is out when the umpire gives him out. So, similarly, someone is guilty when the judge says, I punish you, I give you 10-year imprisonment. How do you understand this system? How do you understand the institution? Okay. Now, on the one hand, yes, the institution punishes you. On the other hand, you also hope that there is some meaning in the institution. You want the institution to protect you, as it happens in the old document, where there are forces of chaos coming in. But this institution maybe is helpless against these forces of chaos. The king is there, but he cannot do anything. Or maybe, as in this excerpt from the Great Wall of China, the emperor's message, the institution intends good. The emperor sends a message, but it won't ever reach you. But all you do is wait and hope that there is this thing in the message. And this thing about punishment that the institution gives, it is wonderfully expressed in the story The Penal Colony.
The ending of in the Penal Colony is quite gruesome. I mean, the body of the literal physical body of the chief commander, or whoever he is, goes through all kind of tortures and all kind of brutal punishments, and that's Kafka's way of presenting human body for you. And if when it comes to human being, he makes sure that most of his protagonists or the central characters go through all kind of physical or psychological suffering. I think guilt and punishment are the two constant themes that keep on appearing in almost all the great works of Franz Kafka. For example, in the Penal Colony, one of the most fascinating as well as horrifying works of Franz Kafka, punishment is again a recurring or profoundly moving theme. Shall we talk about the depiction as well as the nature of guilt and punishment as observed in this novella? Punishment for exceeding guilt. Can
Yes.
we speak about that?
Yes. So, as I told you earlier, punishment seems to far exceed guilt. Sometimes we don't even know whether there is guilt. Sometimes the guilt is very minimal, like knocking at the minor gates. Now, in the penal colony, that soldier is being punished for insubordination. Now, what did he do? He forgot to salute the superior officer. He is supposed to salute the superior officer once every hour, even if the superior officer is not there. He forgot to salute the superior officer. That's why he is given punishment. And why is he guilty? He is guilty because he has been declared guilty. Yeah? The machine will write on his body. The machine will write the punishment and his guilt on his body. This man does not know why he is being punished. So it's like, the law says you are guilty, that's why you are guilty. But the penal colony is interesting also from the point of view of what happened in France just when Kafka was around 10 or 11 years old. There was something called as the Dreyfus affair. This Dreyfus was an officer in the French army. One fine day, he was accused of being a spy. He was arrested on charges of espionage. Dreyfus was a Jew, to add to it. He was, one fine day, people came to his room and said, you remove your uniform and come in normal clothes, and they took him. That's like, what Gregor Samsa one fine day finds out that he is an insect. So Dreyfus one fine day found out that he is a traitor to the nation. So there was a trial, and it divided opinion across the continent of Europe. He was punished and sent to Devil's Island. Then again, some people like Emile Zola and others took his side. There was a trial again. Then again, he was punished. And there was another trial. And I think 10, 12 years after his punishment, he was exonerated. So then he became again officer in the army. He retired as a lieutenant. The parallels between the penal colony and this affair are very interesting. The penal colony takes place in an island. Dreyfus was also sent to an island when he was in prison. He was sent to Devil's Island. Now, in penal colony, there is an exchange between the punisher and the punished. Yeah. Now, both of them are Dreyfus. The officer who is giving the punishment and the victim, both of them are Dreyfus, because at the end, the officer removes his shirt. Yeah. Dreyfus was not just the victim, he was also the lawgiver. He was part of the armed forces. Okay. So, penal colony is about, you can use penal colony to talk about how Kafka looked at colonialism. You can talk about, these things were happening. Punishment was pushed to these, earlier punishment was a public spectacle.
Yeah, public spectacle.
Yeah, now during Kafka's time, punishment is something that happens inside the prison, or punishment is something that happens in the colonies.
A closet affair.
Yeah, and they are saying that colonies need a better, different kind of justice than the civilized people need. All those things are there. But I think the starting point of penal colony was what Kafka felt when he no doubt followed the Dreyfus affair that was happening in France.